From our first moments of life, we are driven by a single constant impulse. Whether called comfort or joy, we are essentially looking for a way to feel satisfied. We generally address this by looking outward. A child seeks it in a plastic toy. An adult seeks it in a promotion, a stable mortgage, or a physical aesthetic that matches a specific ideal. But the material world is governed by change. Physical objects break, and as this weathered stone suggests, bodies eventually face sickness and old age. Because external things are temporary, they cannot provide a permanent sense of stability. Recognizing this often leads to a specific reaction, the belief that the only way to find quiet is to physically leave society behind and hide in a cave or a remote forest. This manuscript contains the Bhagavad Gita. For centuries, it has served as a primary text for resolving the tension between internal desires and external reality. Despite its peaceful reputation, the narrative doesn't occur in a monastery. It's set on a battlefield as two armies collide. To understand why a lesson on composure is set in a war zone, we have to look past the literal history and examine the etymology of the names used in the story. The battle takes place at a location called Kshetra. In Sanskrit, the word Kshetra translates to the field. Throughout the text, this field is identified as the physical body itself, the space where all our actions and thoughts occur. This identifies the war as something happening within us. To see what is being fought over, we look to the leader of the opposing side, King Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra is blind. Symbolically, he represents an aspect of our own psyche that is unable to see the reality of its situation, often clinging to attachments it cannot truly hold on to. His wife, Gandhari, represents the human intellect. In the story, rather than providing vision for her husband, she chooses to bind her own eyes, representing when logic intentionally ignores what is true. This union produces the enemy army, the Kauravas. The text describes their origin as a mamsa pinda, a lump of flesh. Because they are born of flesh, they represent our purely physical appetites, our ego, and the recurring desires that disrupt our internal stability. These forces are opposed by the Pandavas, a group of 5 brothers born not of flesh but of divine origins. They represent our higher senses and our capacity for discipline, the parts of ourselves that strive toward clarity and virtue. The final element in this psychological map is the Ratham, or Chariot, which carries the warrior Arjuna into the center of the conflict. The chariot serves as another layer of the physical body. It is the vehicle through which we experience the friction and movement of the world. This etymological framework presents the Gita as an internal guide. The chariot is the body, the warriors are our conflicting impulses, and the outcome depends on the charioteer, representing the intellect, taking control of the reins. When read through this lens, the text functions as a manual for the conflict happening inside every human being. If the battle is internal, then contentment is not an isolated destination. You don't have to change your zip code or move to a remote mountain range to find a sense of resolution. Expecting the external world to become perfectly quiet is rarely practical. Nature operates on a cycle of consumption and change that is often loud and chaotic. The Gita suggests that if composure can be maintained within the chaos of a battlefield, it can be maintained anywhere. Peace is not the absence of conflict, but the ability to remain stable while the conflict is happening. Lasting satisfaction is found by shifting the focus. Instead of trying to fix every problem in the external world, we work on winning the war within our own minds.